What are some initial steps consumers should take when looking to purchase a new car?
You know, when people are going to buy a new or used car, there's a few things you should keep in mind. For one thing, know your credit score. Do not go down to the dealership without knowing your credit score, because then you're going to be in for a surprise when it comes to financing. The interest rate and terms of the loan are often dependent upon your credit score, so know that ahead of time. Also know your budget, and more importantly, do your research and figure out what cars you do and don't like. With so many great websites these days, you should be able to go online and watch a video or look at some photos and eliminate some cars right away based on negative feedback or the fact that you just think it's ugly. Whichever you think, it's up to you. So do all that research, eliminate some cars, and then have a few key contenders before you go down to test drives. Have like 3 or 4 cars where you're like, these are definitely, it's going to be one of these. So do that, and you should have a better time when you go to the dealership.
I think that's so important. I think, one, a lot of buyers don't check their credit score.
Yeah.
Before they go, and they're so surprised when they come back with those figures and like, oh, this is too
Right.
high, I can't afford this vehicle.
Exactly. And you know what I think about that? I think that that one thing that you just said, very smart, I think that surprise is the thing that makes everybody upset. That's the thing where now they're like, oh, I hate this process. Well, by just doing some research ahead of time, you can manage that and you can eliminate that sort of uncomfortable feeling.
Exactly. And I think, too, checking competitors. People just have this one thought about, okay, I just want this car, but they never see what the other manufacturers, you know, are really offering.
Right.
And, you know, I think another great thing is to actually, and I know some dealers do this, where you can ask for an extended test drive.
Yep.
Where you can take the car overnight to see if that's the car that you really want. Because, you know, for 15 minutes you're driving one car, and you're like, okay, I like everything, but if you have it a little bit longer, okay, I don't like this. The steering wheel doesn't tilt, it doesn't telescope, so people don't take that into consideration when they're looking at the vehicle.
I think that is excellent advice, because let's face it, if the last car you were driving is an 87 Tercel EZ, whatever you get that's 5 years newer is going to seem awesome for the first 5 minutes. So make sure that you see what I'm saying? Like, I just got a Tercel and now I'm going to drive a BMW. Well, of course it's going to be great, but make sure that it fits your lifestyle. And like you said, what if it's uncomfortable? What if you just bought a $40,000 car and the seats give you a backache 3 days after you bought it? That's tough luck. I mean, some dealerships have an exchange policy, but for the most part, like you said, ask if you can take an extended test drive. Now, they're going to want to run your credit or have your driver's license to make sure the car is secure. Fine. If you're serious about the car, see if you can take it for longer than 5 minutes, maybe even an hour, 2 hours, or if they'll do overnight, and some automakers and manufacturers will do that, that's excellent advice, and that way you can feel more confident about the car that you bought, because let's face it, this is a lot of money.
Right, exactly. And this is something that you're going to have for the next 3 to, we'll say, 10 years of your life.
Yeah.
How do we decide if buying or leasing is the best option?
It really depends upon each individual person's situation. So here's how leasing works out best. Leasing is for the guy or girl who wants a new car every 2 to 3 years. That's great for them. The payments are low, so for the short term, leasing is actually less expensive. The capitalized cost reduction, or what we would call the down payment, is usually lower. The payments are lower for often a nicer car. But now over the long haul, over say 10 or 15 years, that's more expensive because you never have equity. You always turn it in, you always get a new car, you always have a payment, and you always make another down payment. So if you want to keep your car and you want the best, say, for your budget over a long period, buy it, because at some point you're going to own the car. You can keep it without payments, and you can have equity in the car, just like you might have equity in your home or condominium.
Which should we look for when choosing a dealership?
Well, you know, most people go to places that obviously are close to their home or work, and that's fine. You may have to go there for recalls, you may have to go there for service, you may have to go there for a lot of different reasons. So picking a place that's close to you is fine, but more important than that, make sure you feel comfortable there. Make sure they treat you with respect. I mean, I'm sure you've heard many stories of people that felt uncomfortable, or they said, oh, they weren't polite, they took advantage. Okay, if you get that feeling, then just leave. There are many Ford dealers, there are many Honda dealers, there are many Chrysler dealers to pick from. There's not just one, so go wherever you feel comfortable, and if you're not feeling it, then just leave and go to the next place.
What are some tips to negotiating price?
You know, negotiating price is one of those things that makes people feel uncomfortable. If you don't want to negotiate, by all means look for a dealership that doesn't have haggling or negotiating. Look for a one price or no haggle dealership. But if you really want the lowest price, here's a few tips. Be flexible. The dealership wants to sell you a car that they already have on the lot. So if you roll in there saying, I have got to have V8, rear-wheel drive, convertible with tan leather interior and these chrome wheels, you're going to pay for that. If you go in there on the other hand and say, I want a sporty car, a Cooper convertible, white is fine, black is fine, I'm open to the options, you're going to get a better deal that way, because then there's a wider variety of cars to choose from.
What are some payment options we should consider before sealing the deal?
You know, you can really pay for a car in a variety of ways. You can pay cash, of course. Most people can't do that for a brand new car. You can finance it, you can lease it. This is the advice that we give. If you're buying a car and you're going to finance it, save up as much money up front as you can. Put a big down payment, because that will lower your payments and you're going to have equity in that car. When you're leasing, you want to put as little money down as possible, because you're never going to see it again. That money is gone when you turn that car in. So $1,000, $500, even $200 for a lease is what you should be looking for.
And where can we go for more information?
For more information on the stuff that we were talking about, you can go to autotrader.com/newcarbond. There's lots of tips, advice, videos, photos, all kinds of stuff, plus inventory. More than 4 million cars listed for sale that you can browse, shop, figure out what you like. Autotrader.com.
Brian, it's been a pleasure speaking with you this morning. I can't wait to share this information with my readers.
Cool. Thank you.